Did you know that Miss Marvel has a direct tie back to Swamp Thing?
Does that mean that she's in love with plants?
Maybe. Listen and take notes because your geek history lesson is now in session. Welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason Inman. It is now time to enter your mind university, to enter inside your mind and learn about geeky things that you don't know about. We're here to teach you things that you need to know that are about geek. And I get so forceful because class is in session and you students need to listen to us.
Now, please, Professor Jason, tell us how we're going to do this today.
Well, we have sections of our podcast. If you've never listened to this podcast before, we have different sections where we give you little things and we'll teach you about them as we go along. So, who is the subject of today's lesson?
The subject of today's lesson is Miss Marvel, a comic book property.
Oh,
and
Miss
future
Marvel.
movie property, if the rumors are true.
Oh, dun dun dun.
Spoiler alert.
Sounds like great. So let's hop right into it. Let's zoom through the cosmos as Miss Marvel does, as I've seen her in many scantily clad outfits on many a comic book cover. Why don't you start us out with our 10-cent origin, which is a quick taste, just a very quick taste of who Miss Marvel is, the basic facts that you need to know about her bikini-wearing buttocks.
Well, not really anymore. I want to apologize in advance if anyone hears anything because my information is written down on an analog piece of paper as opposed to in digital form, so you might hear the page turning. Analog, old school.
Does that tie into Miss Marvel?
Classic. Not so much. She's kind of a spacey future age superheroine.
Future.
So your 10-cent history lesson.
From the future.
Sure.
Miss Marvel.
The most famous Miss Marvel has been Carol Danvers, as you probably know.
Okay.
And she first appeared in Marvel Superheroes number 13 in March of 1986, written by Roy Thomas with art by Gene Colan.
That's his name.
Like a semicolon.
Mm-hmm.
And she, at the time, was a non-superhero USAF officer.
Yeah, she was.
So, fact. Her superpowered Miss Marvel appeared as the titular character of her own series in January 1977.
Oh.
And her powers are the result of an explosion that caused her DNA to merge with Mar-Vell's, who was Captain Marvel at the time.
It's also known as reproduction, kids.
Sort of. And her powers...
Space reproduction.
Space doing it. Her powers include superhuman strength, speed, stamina, and durability, energy protection and absorption, and flight.
Flight, Miss Marvel likes to fly.
Why do we always get into a weird, dirty version of the history lesson?
I'm giving you music.
That's great.
Is that it for the 10-cent adventure?
That's it. Those are the most important 10-cent origin things you need to know about Miss Marvel.
So she was drawn by Gene Colan, and she was recreated by DNA space reproduction.
With Mar-Vell, before he died horribly of cancer.
Okay. So the next part of our section is called History 101.
No, it's Meet Cute.
Oh, it's Meet. I'm skipping ahead.
Oh, you were going to fail this class.
I'm thinking about the space future things class, so I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead and give us a Meet Cute. Tell us what Meet Cute is.
Meet Cute is a comedy term that we co-opted because we're geniuses like that, and it's how we first encountered this character, our little origin story in meeting them.
First encounter, Miss Marvel.
Can I go now?
Sure.
So the first place that I remember meeting Miss Marvel, which is not to say that it's the first time I saw her, but I remember being aware of the character, was in Civil War.
Civil War!
Which, if you haven't read, it will be on your required reading later.
Uh-oh.
She becomes Iron Man, Tony Stark's...
We're talking about the Marvel Civil War, not the American Civil War.
No.
She wasn't involved with that.
No, as far as I know. But there's a lot of wibbly-wobbly Marvel timey-wimey stuff going on right now, perhaps. But yes, in the Marvel Civil War Mark Millar series, she's...
Miller.
Mark Miller. Sorry, Mark Miller. I know you're listening, along with Bob at the NSA. I'm really, really sorry.
Hey, Bob. How's it going?
Hey, Bob.
He's a big fan of Miss Marvel.
I think he's a big fan of you.
Oh. Yeah, he is.
So I remember her as a supporting player to Tony in his... war against it.
She was also the leader of the Mighty Avengers when Bendis relaunched that series. When they relaunched it, he made her team leader. It was after Civil War.
Was she Miss Marvel then, or was she Captain Marvel?
She was Miss Marvel. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Where did you first encounter Miss Carol Danvers?
My first encountered Carol Danvers when she was called Warbird.
Yeah, she's had like 6 different names, but she's always sort of been Miss Marvel.
In the Kurt Busiek, George Perez Avengers run that was post Heroes Reborn.
I love George Perez.
Heroes Reborn, when they sent him off to the image artist and they let Rob Liefeld and
your favorite.
Oh yeah, I love his feet. Draw the Avengers. And then they brought him back and they convinced George Perez, the classic Avengers artist, to draw the Avengers. Mm-hmm. And Kurt Busiek, who I love from Astro City because he had done Astro City before then.
Was that before you loved him from Iron Man?
His Iron Man run was at the same time as this Avengers run. So this was really what got me into the Marvel heroes, because before that I didn't care. But this, because I was buying Iron Man, I bought Avengers, and I was buying Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. And Fantastic Four, when it was relaunched, was written by Scott Lobdell.
Yes.
And I loved all of them. And she was one of the team members, and she was called Warbird, and they had like this big old thing because she was sort of a drunk.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Yeah.
That is in a later part of the lesson.
But that was my first encounter with Miss Marvel Carol Danvers.
Which we're
Miss
actually
Marvel!
about to come up on right
Carol
now.
Danvers! I'm just gonna keep singing.
But I need to talk about History 101 now.
History 101, kids, is the section where Miss Ashley, because this is her turn this
I'm
week,
Professor this week.
Professor Ashley is going to teach us the basic tenets, the history, not the David tenets, the basic tenets of the character, and give us interesting facts. So take away the lesson. There will be a quiz later, and it will not be multiple choice. It will be a singing quiz.
Yep. So we'll start with this fact, since you already alluded to it. In one of her most famous storylines called Live, Cree, or Die, very clever, Carol Danvers was famously an alcoholic, and she fell into disgrace and was suspended from duty on the Avengers.
Professor,
yes,
my
you in the
hand
back
is up.
with your feet up on the desk.
I hate to correct you,
Please
but
correct me.
Live, Cree, or Die is not her storyline.
Oh, well, the internet told me it was.
It is a storyline that involves the Kree coming back to the moon to recapture the Supreme Intelligence, who is on the moon under the Watchers. It is an Avengers storyline.
Yes.
And the reason I know this is because...
But it's one of the ones that she figures most prominently in.
Her being alcoholic figures prominently into it because they have the tribunal to kick her off the Avengers in that storyline.
But yes, it is an Avengers book.
I know that because it was in Avengers number 7, written by Kurt Busiek and drawn by George Perez.
Your boyfriends. Yeah, but that's what she's sort of...
Live, Cree, or Die, yeah.
Until Kelly Sue DeConnick got her hands on her... that was what she was most famous for, was being a drunk alcoholic. Yeah,
I remember
being Lady Tony Stark.
I remember, yeah, there was a scene in that book where like Tony Stark like tries to tell her, and she's just like, "You don't know me, Tony Stark."
I know that they're analogs.
You know who
of each
I
other.
am.
I think it was in this. I think it was in this storyline. This is also a fun fact.
Live, Cree, or Die.
Live, Cree, or Die, but it might have been in another one. She admits to Peter Parker that she has a big old crush on him. Just like every 11-year-old girl reading that book.
I don't remember that.
Me. Yeah, it might have been in a different one. I just wrote down that she had a crush on Peter Parker, which is unsurprising.
I do also remember in that storyline that they bring Quicksilver in to testify against her, because this was one of the only times that Quicksilver had his own title. Like, he had a book, and like she drunkenly...
For 5 seconds.
She drunkenly did something stupid in there, and so he came to like be like, "I'm the son of Magneto! I hate her. Because she has blonde hair and I have white hair.
And she doesn't look like my sister.
And I have a crush on my sister."
So, moving on from nepotism and incest.
Do you have any facts about? I'm sorry to interrupt your lesson.
I mean, I have facts.
Oh, where did she get her powers? And like, or
I told you.
I know, but do you know more about that? Like, how did this happen? Like,
she was. The way that her DNA got fused with Mar-Vell's was she was blasted by, I didn't write it down.
Cosmic rays.
Something like that. It
Cosmic
sounds slightly
rays.
more scientific, and that was what caused the fusion and transferred his powers over to her.
So did she met Captain Marvel because she was in the Air Force?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and did you know that when she was in the Air Force, her call sign was cheeseburger? It's never explained why, but that's her call sign.
Was it like the cats? Like, "I has cheeseburger"?
Sure.
Cheeseburger.
Sure, depending on who's writing her, probably.
Man, I wonder if her co-pilot was Fries.
Fries?
Because then it'd be like cheeseburger and fries.
Like fries and shake?
Like cheeseburgers, fries, and shake.
Yeah, they were like the triumvirate of the
Big
U.S.
Mama,
Air Force.
There's
in
a
the
cheeseburger
70s.
over here, up here, right here to launch it.
They're not semi-drivers.
Hey, I'm Carol Danvers, and
This isn't Smokey and the Bandit.
Keep going.
Did you know?
Learn me more. Teach me more about Miss Marvel.
Learn you this, sonny boy. There have been 3 going on 4 women to take up the mantle of Miss Marvel. Carol Danvers, most famously. The second Miss Marvel
Are they all after her?
Yes, she was the first, the Paramount Miss Marvel. And then it was Sharon Ventura, who came on in 1985
Sounds like a detective.
Swamp Thing number 24.
Whoa. What?
Yeah.
What?
In Swamp Thing number 27, I lied, it's a 7, not a 4. In Swamp Thing 27, in 1985, Sharon Ventura takes up the mantle of Miss Marvel. And later in that run, she becomes She-Thing, like Lady Swamp Thing.
Okay, I'm very confused right now.
Yeah.
How is Miss Marvel in a DC comic book?
I don't know,
because Miss Marvel's a Marvel character, obviously.
Yes.
How is she in a Swamp Thing?
That's what the internet said.
But you don't know.
I don't know.
She's in a Swamp Thing.
I never read it. It says that she was in Swamp Thing.
Is this Miss Marvel completely unrelated?
And she becomes the She-Thing. I'm not sure if it's unrelated. I'm really feeling in my lesson plan right now.
Yeah, I really want to know this. Like, how is this Marvel in a DC comic book? This doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. To the wiki.
It doesn't make sense at all. Keep teaching. Don't let the class.
Okay.
Don't let the class
Here we
fall
go,
silent.
class.
The class
and
is
then
falling silent
the third Miss Marvel was Dr. Carla Sofen, aka Moonstone, and she becomes Miss Marvel's sort of dark analog in the Dark Reign storyline when we get the Dark Avengers.
Yeah, because Moonstone's one of the Thunderbolts.
Yep.
And then she's like Norman Osborn's crazy girl.
Yep.
And she sleeps with Bullseye.
Yes. And she actually gets her own Miss Marvel title briefly in 2009 before it was taken over again by Danvers in 2010. And then the fourth one we actually haven't met yet. Her name is Kamala Khan, and she is famous for being both non-white and non-Christian.
Is she related to Khan Noonien Sin?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Although he's markedly less brown than she is.
Okay, I'm going to correct you.
Please correct me.
Sharon Ventura was not in Swamp Thing.
Was it just the thing?
It was in The Thing.
Bollocks.
Benjamin Grimm had nothing to do with Swamp Thing. It was a Marvel comic. She was in The Thing, number 27.
Okay.
And she was a stunt performer who met Ben Grimm. And she joined with The Thing. She joined the Unlimited Class Wrestling Federation, which is a brilliant storyline where Benjamin Grimm fought a bunch of people. And she took the name Miss Marvel. She later joined the Fantastic Four. And later, her body mutates because she gets hit by cosmic rays, and she turns into a girl version of the Thing, and she gets the name She-Thing. So nothing to do with Swamp Thing.
I wrote down Swamp Thing, though.
Nothing to do with...
My DC allegiances are showing.
What's the plant guy?
Yeah, plant guy.
So what else do we know about Miss Marvel? Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers.
Well, in the 1980s, there was a storyline that has now in popular culture come to be called The Rape of Miss Marvel.
What?
And what happens is Carol Danvers kidnaps the son of one of her enemies, and this son's name is Marcus, and she takes him up to the moon.
And she space rapes him.
And
she space rapes him.
No. They hang out.
The Watcher space rapes him?
They hang out for a bit, and she. It kind of depends on which article you're reading and who you're talking to.
Okay.
Usually the way it goes is she seduces him to get information, and then he actually rapes her. But then some people say that he seduced her, and she gets pregnant, comes back to Earth, has the baby, it grows up to be a clone of the father, and she murders it.
And this is before she was on the sauce.
Yeah, this is 1980s. So it's become this really big deal because the original artist who drew her, Gene Colan, intended her to be like a feminist sort of icon, like a young woman who could come up in the world and have the same powers of a man.
She's a captain in the Air Force. Yeah.
And so when this storyline came out, it created all this controversy, which is still a really hot button issue, by pop culture enthusiasts and
Space
professionals.
baby.
Yeah, so that was the rape of Miss Marvel.
Oh, that wasn't the name of the storyline, was it?
No, that's what it's come to be called now, though. It's always referred to as the rape of Miss Marvel. I believe it was an Avengers storyline where it actually happened.
Oh, was this before or after the death of Captain Marvel?
This would have been right around the same time because he died in 1986.
Damn it! So he couldn't have stopped it. He couldn't have punched the moon in 3.
No, he
was Twine because he was dying of cancer.
Twain is 2 parts.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain.
Why is he British?
Mark Twain.
And Carol Danvers is ranked 29th in the Comic Buyer's Guide Sexiest Women in Comics. They ironically don't have sexiest men in comics, but she's number 29.
I disagree with that.
Do you want to know who number 1 is? I think you'll
Wonder
be interested.
Woman.
No, it is not a DC or a Marvel.
Just grab it.
No.
What?
In comics.
What?
You're going to be angry, I think.
Vampirilla.
No. You're in the right ballpark, though.
Elektra. Elvira.
No.
I don't know.
Red Sonja is, according to Comic Buyer's Guide, the number 1
It's just
most
because she's not wearing
woman.
any clothes.
Yeah,
but
that's
Carol
most
Danvers
of them.
was 26?
She's 29th.
29th.
So.
Who was, do you know 28?
No, I just know number 1 because this.
I'm going to guess Jessica Rabbit.
You can't find this list online. You have to actually download the PDF.
And they make you pay for it.
Yes. So it was
I'm the 29th sexiest girl.
But if you go and you look at their Wikipedia articles, a lot of times it has how they're ranked.
I didn't get moon raked at all.
Wait, here's an actual tie back to DC Comics.
Call me cheeseburger.
Carol Danvers was named Carol Danvers in reaction to Supergirl, whose secret
Linda
identity
Danvers.
is Linda Lee Danvers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she's called Carol Danvers.
I'm a stick of you, Supergirl.
Because they kind of took Kara and then Danvers.
They just wanted to stick of the DC.
Yeah.
I like
basically. And look, she looks similar. She's got blonde hair and she's young and
Whoa.
she's a cousin. She's related to an already existing male character. She's an analog.
Who's she related to?
I mean, she's created sort of as an answer to Captain Marvel, just
Captain
like
Marvel's
Supergirl.
an alien.
Yeah, is created as an answer to Superman.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
All right.
More.
Teach me more.
I have one more fact.
Okay.
And Carol Danvers, the character, not the superhero, at one time was the editor of Rolling Stone. And she also owned a cat named Chewie.
Okay, whoa. There's a storyline where she was the editor of Rolling Stone?
So claims the Wikipedia.
Well, first of all, you need to find more sources than just Wikipedia, okay? Because anybody can go on Wikipedia. I could go on there and change that right now and make her the editor of Playgirl.
You could.
And it would stick.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone, so it's kind of like when Captain America drew his own comic book.
Yeah.
It's weird. Why Rolling Stone, I wonder?
Probably because Rolling Stone is the default idea of what a hip happening magazine is.
I see. All right.
I'm not certain. It didn't.
I don't know if I feel like I learned
a...
anything about Carol Danvers. I feel like I'm even more confused. I don't understand anything of the character now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've come to see about her. And I think it's because she's largely been... I mean, she's had her own titles several times. And, there's currently a Captain Marvel where she's graduated to take on that mantle. And she's wearing a similar costume. Yeah, with the red sash. But so Miss Marvel, has usually been a supporting player, and most people know her from her Avengers books or from other things. And I think because of that, maybe in her singular runs, a lot of the writers have had a lot more freedom to go cuckoo crazy.
I see.
Because she's not like a Wonder Woman, a bigger character. Not that saves anyone, really. But I think that's why her continuity is a little out of whack.
Okay. Do you know anything about the new Miss Marvel that's coming out?
Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan!
She is Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a person of color, which is very interesting. She was first introduced in Captain Marvel number 17.
Oh, she's already been introduced.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think she's introduced as Miss Marvel. She's just there.
She's like, I'm Kamala Khan.
She's like, I'm in the background and my name is important.
I'm K-Squared.
She comes out.
No, I won't go to the moon and have space babies with you, Captain Marvel.
No, I don't think you can get away with that storyline anymore.
Oh,
it's
I'll find
dated.
a way.
I mean, for
will
Marvel.
Find a way.
Okay.
You just wait.
You writing Miss Marvel currently?
Miss Marvel.
And her
Space Babies.
Her title is set to come out the first week of February 2014. And it's one that I know a lot of people have really high hopes for. Mm-hmm. But they haven't put like most Miss Marvel series, it seems. They haven't put a huge name on it. Uh-huh. But it there's a lot of potential there for it to develop into something really, really cool.
Is that the end of the history lesson?
That is the end of the history lesson.
Woo!
And I can give you some required reading.
Now we move on to required reading, where we tell you what we think you should read if you want to know more about this character. Because at this point in the podcast, I feel I need to know a lot more about this character because I feel I know nothing.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think we should read?
I have 3 things that I think you should read. I think that if you want to know more about Carol Danvers' career as Miss Marvel, you should pick up Volume 1 of Miss Marvel, which is called Best of the Best.
And that's the series before the current series.
Yes.
Okay.
It was published in 2006.
A lot of people have high claims of greatness in that series. I've never read it.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if you're interested in some of the more current Carol Danvers stuff where she's Captain Marvel, the first volume of that is called In Pursuit of Flight. I know that that character, especially with Kelly Sue DeConnick behind it, has a huge, huge fan base. And so that's the first. I think the second one is coming out or just recently came out.
Sure.
So volume one is out. Pick that up. And then, of course, Civil War.
Oh, Civil War. She's such a tiny part of it, though.
Yeah. But it's one of her most famous storylines beyond... I didn't want to give you the she's an alcoholic thing, personally.
Oh, I will.
Okay, then you please.
You cannot... Okay, I would say my required reading for Captain Marvel is to pick up the first hardcover of Avengers, the Kurt Busiek, George Perez run. It's volume 1. It's a big hardcover. It's the first 10 issues. She's in it. She shows up in it. She's Warbird, blah, 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 blah. She has, like, crazy powers because she was also called Binary for a while.
Yeah, those were her two most famous aliases. I know she's had more than that.
Yeah. The Live, Create, Die storyline has never been collected.
Nope.
And there's a reason why, because it's not that great. But the Avengers run is great. She shows up in it. I would do that. The other one I would say would be to do Mighty Avengers, the Brian Michael Bendis, because after Civil War, they had New Avengers and they had Mighty Avengers. And the Mighty Avengers was a state-sponsored team, and the New Avengers with a Luke Cage be like, we don't listen to no government, yo, team. And Carol Danvers is the leader. And it's also the book where Brian Michael Bendis tried to introduce thought bubbles back into comic books and prove that those were still stupid ideas.
Yeah.
Thought bubbles don't work. Do not do thought bubbles. So that's it for required reading.
Don't you also have a required viewing?
Oh, you do? Okay, because I had dropped... Here's a little extra credit nugget for all you little nuggets out there. You space nuggets that were possibly made in space by Miss Marvel. On the moon, she kills your babies. I hope you're enjoying these songs. Anyways, required viewing is I blew Ashley's mind before this podcast.
I'm still picking up the pieces.
Because I said that I was like, oh, did you know that Carol Danvers has already made a live action appearance? And she was like, no. And went thud on the floor. And after I revived her, I would not tell her.
Thank you for that, by the way.
You're welcome. I called the ambulance as well. You don't remember that part?
Nope.
But enough of a sidetrack. We don't want to get as convoluted as Miss Marvel's history.
Yeah.
So she has appeared in a Marvel movie.
So you claim.
I would like you to make a guess on which Marvel movie you think it is. Just very quickly off the top of your head. Go 3, 2, 1, guess.
One of the Iron Man 1 or Iron Man 2.
Incorrect.
Bollocks.
Carol Danvers
Hulk
makes an appearance on screen as Captain Carol Danvers in several scenes of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Oh, good Lord.
Johnny, the entire movie.
I thought you meant a Marvel Studios movie.
It's still a Marvel movie.
Yeah, but you should have told me it was a Marvel Studios.
It's a Marvel movie. A Marvel movie is a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Who plays her?
I don't know.
Some blonde girl?
Supermodel girl. But the entire movie, Johnny, she's Andre Braugher's, because Andre Braugher is just a random no-name general, and she is Andre Braugher's guy. And at the very end of the movie, the general captures all the Fantastic Four, and she's the one that lets them out, is Carol Danvers. But the entire movie, and she's the only one that doesn't fall for Johnny's stuff, except for the end of the movie when she does. But that's her first appearance.
Cool.
Now, I assume that the character is now owned by Marvel, since they're talking about making a Captain Marvel movie with her in it. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's one of those weird things where Fox can do a Quicksilver and Marvel can do a Quicksilver, and it doesn't matter. I don't know. But Carol Danvers was already in a movie. So there you go. There's a required viewing. Go watch that movie. Or you don't have to watch that movie at all.
Don't watch it.
Okay, and now we move into the last part where we have a discussion. And Miss Ashley, you have some discussion points.
I have a query for you.
Query.
How do you feel about...
I have a query about Miss Marvel. If you haven't figured out by now, I have themes for episodes, and I'm just going to keep with them. Right? Here we go. What's your query?
My query is how you feel about the consistently tossed around rumor of Katie Sackhoff playing Carol Danvers.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. If anybody's going to be Captain Marvel, Katie Sackhoff, you don't know, is Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. If you don't know that, I know she's also on a series called Longmire.
Drop it and watch Battlestar right now.
Turn off this podcast right now and leave, because we are nowhere near as entertaining as anything Ronald D. Moore has ever written. But she's also in a series called Longmire.
That's currently on the air, isn't
Yes,
it?
I believe it's on A&E, and it's a ripoff of Justify, basically.
Yeah, totally.
It's pretty much a ripoff of Justify, which is why I haven't watched it. Now, a lot of people have said it's good, but whatever. She's in that show as well. But she was also in a season of 24. But she's amazing. She's really good. She was in the most recent Riddick movie where she got to show some side boob.
She's frequently naked in Big Bang Theory.
She's naked in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, she's always having a bath with Wolowitz when he's like, I need to masturbate and think about something. Oh. She's always in the bubble bath with him.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Which is funny. She's probably like twice his size.
Yeah. But I think she's a great actress, and she's very pretty, and she has a very great strength. And I think if you want to give Carol Danvers justice, which obviously the comic books have not given her justice, let's let Katie Sackhoff play her. Mm-hmm. Although I want Katie Sackhoff to play Harley Quinn,
me too,
more so than Captain Danvers. But it looks like the Miss Marvel movie is probably going to happen way sooner than the Harley Quinn movie.
We'll ever get Harley
Quinn. I want Katie Sackhoff in a comic book movie. Let's put her in that one,
mm-hmm.
right? You know. Do you have any more queries for me?
I have another.
Give me more queries.
I have another
more queries.
Movie-related
I demand.
Query. Do you think that in this Miss Marvel movie, or Captain Marvel movie, which is consistently teased for Phase 3.
I'd call it Captain Marvel if it was me.
Do you think that they're going to do the alcoholic storyline?
No.
Or do you think they're just going to leave that to Tony?
No, I don't think we'll ever see the alcoholic Tony storyline. Ever. Ever.
Not with RDJ, certainly not.
I don't think we'll ever see it. Ever. I don't think.
You don't think the movies would ever go that dark?
No, I don't think they'll ever. I don't think they'll ever go in the dark. We'll definitely not see it with Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not.
I'm glad for that personally.
To never see the Iron Man or the
the Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel is a character that I have a lot of conflicted feelings about, and she's a character.
Obviously, the history has conflicted feelings.
Yeah, and
I'm conflicted from feelings of her.
She's from feeling her.
Miss Marvel.
You need to get a little more bouncy.
Let me feel you. Oh. You just gonna let me keep going?
Yeah, totally.
This is awkward and weird.
Please continue.
No. You go.
But yeah, so I have
They're probably tired of me.
I have a lot of conflicted feelings about Carol Danvers because she's a character I really want to like, but because the writing, I think, as our facts prove, is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, obviously.
It makes it difficult. And
it seems like nobody knows what to do with this character.
No, and that would be my fear for the films, and that they would default back to something like the alcoholic storyline just because it is one of her most well-known attributes, from her sort of storied comic book past.
That's so funny that, like, that from your research that the alcoholic storyline is her most well-known storyline. Well, even to me, it's not.
Well, even from people that I talk to, because I worked at a comic book store once upon a time, and I have lots of geeky friends, as one would suspect. And when the new Captain Marvel series was starting, and then later on when this Miss Marvel series with Kamala Khan was announced, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when she was a drunk." Like
really?
that was the thing I consistently heard. Like, "Oh yeah, I remember that she was an alcoholic. The last time I read her, she was an alcoholic, and her life fell apart, and like blah blah blah." And
so crazy.
Like that's a crappy thing to remember a superhero for. And I also wonder if it's because she's a female, and I'm gonna get a little feminist here. If there's extra stigma put on that, whereas like Tony Stark being an alcoholic is like, oh well, like that's kind of interesting, and then we'll forgive it because he's a billionaire playboy philanthropist.
I kind of disagree with your statement there because, see, in Tony Stark's storyline, Demon in a Bottle, he kills a guy. He flat out disintegrates a guy because he's drunk.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel doesn't do anything near as bad. Like, she flies to the moon in the Live or Free or Die storyline, and she kind of screws things up, and Captain America's like, well, gosh, dang it, D. Willikers, you messed that up for us. Like, that's because, he can't cuss.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Tony Stark killed a guy. Basically, flat out killed a guy. It's way, like, I don't know, to me, if you were to say alcoholic superhero, I'd flat out go to Tony Stark. But see,
I just mean that there's been a lot more room for retribution on his front, also because he's a more popular character than I feel like on hers.
What I think it is because, as we've flat out seen, the writing is all over the place. I think it's clearly that there is obviously just not a good Captain Marvel storyline or Miss Marvel storyline.
Yeah, because the death of Captain Marvel, the Marvel storyline is amazing.
So that's what it defaults to. And so everybody's like, oh, she must be alcoholic because there clearly isn't any other good Miss Marvel storylines out there, which from your research, it seems to be.
Yeah, and that's why I personally have a lot of hope for this Miss Marvel storyline with Kamala Khan. I so badly want it to be good. I think the comics industry now needs it to be good.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the writers, but I fear...
I've never heard of them before, and I apologize for that.
Me as well. But I fear that book will just not even make it to 10.
You know what will make that book great?
Please tell me.
70s musical numbers.
I knew you were going to sing again.
Comic-Con! What's her name?
Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan!
You just said Comic-Con.
Comic-Con! Meet Kamala Khan at Comic-Con! Do you think we'll see a cosplayer at Comic-Con?
Definitely.
Of Kamala Khan?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, also because you're giving like people of color something to cosplay that's not Avatar.
Hey.
No, and I mean that...
Whoa, easy there,
I mean that in a positive way.
Hey. Well,
I'm not saying that you can't do race-bending cosplays.
I was called Cheeseburger.
Yeah. I feel like that was probably a throwaway line, and people think it's funny, so now it's a part of Miss Marvel trivia.
Why do superheroes always get bad call names? Because
they were invented in the 50s and 60s.
Hal Jordan's is Highball, and I'm
call
like,
signs
that's
are
dumb.
never good, though. Even in Battlestar Galactica, like, the coolest ones are the ones tied to Greek mythology.
Apollo? Yeah,
but there's a guy whose call sign is Hot Dog. Who's played by...
it's because he's a hot dog all over the place.
No, but he's played by...
he's played by Edward James Olmos' son.
Actual son, yeah.
So, final things of Miss Marvel. Her history is apparently beyond confusing.
And sorry, just
and
sorted.
very,
sorted
have you read the new series, Captain Marvel?
I have read selections of it.
What are your thoughts on it?
I am not a huge fan. I'm sorry. I'm a big supporter of female creators. It's not a storyline for me. I think the writing is a little too poppy.
Isn't she time traveling in that new one?
In parts of it, yeah.
I see.
I gave it about 6 issues, and then I read a couple here and there.
Do you think she'll time travel back to where she had space babies?
I would be surprised if they ever touched on that again. She had a singular space baby,
and
then she killed it. Yeah, like with the alcoholism.
How did she kill it?
I just said that she killed it.
With the alcoholism?
How did it die? No, she had the baby.
How did the baby die?
Burst forth from her womb.
Alien? Like a xenomorph?
Yeah, it grew like really, really fast into this like clone replica of its father, and then she killed it with her bare hands.
What? Oh my god! What the hell were these writers smoking? She killed like literally like
she probably punched it into death because it was a superhero.
Or she could have zapped it. She has zapping.
She has zapping powers. My favorite thing about the current Miss Marvel series is that cover that she's on with Spider-Man.
There's a cover with her on Spider-Man?
Yeah, she's like flying up in the air, and it's kind of like the Harley Quinn Joker pose, and he's behind her, and she's got like her arm on his head.
The Rape of Miss Marvel. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. You've become mine.
There's even an essay that's been written about it.
Oh, no, what? They effectively undid the storyline in Avengers Annual. Chris Claremont.
Oh, there you go.
Chris Claremont
came in and cleared house.
And was just like, this never happened. I
just was so like amazed that was even a thing. And I didn't even guess the part where Chris Claremont fixed it.
Space babies.
Well done, Chris Claremont. Hit my mic.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
All right, that's it. I think that's the wrap of the Geek History lesson.
I hope you took notes, because you really needed it this time.
There were no notes to be taken, of course. For our Geek History lesson, I am Jason M, and you can find me on Twitter at JAWIIN and YouTube.com/Jawiin with the same spelling. Ashley, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Ashley V. Robinson.
And you can find Geek History Lesson on the iTunes. Please rate and review and give us a rating and a thumbs up and all that stuff. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Facebook.com/Geek History Lesson. And I believe we have something called a Tumblr. Where can we find that? You can find that at geekhistorylesson.tumblr.com. And if you're really, really unlucky, then the Batman Tumblr will just drive through your apartment the minute you click on the site. That statement is almost as confusing as Miss Marvel's entire history. You're welcome. But you can go to that Tumblr to see lots of funny pictures of Miss Marvel because we're going to be posting lots of them. Mm-hmm. Weird Miss Marvel and also cool other geek facts. So, hope you learned a lot. I know I didn't learn a thing. I just became even more confused. But I'm repugnant. I don't think you know what that means. I'm not I know what repugnant means. That's not the right word I meant. I am resolved to go learn more about Miss Marvel. That's it, class. That's all you need to know. This geek history lesson is over. Miss Ashley, take us out. Class dismissed.